live on YouTube. Are we live? We are live on Rumble. Hello and good morning. Welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is about interesting and important events that happened to date throughout the annals of recorded history. I am A.O. Xander. You viewer are you. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us. We might be joined by Sir Deathan, Fearless Leader. At some point he was here earlier. Anyway, today is Freya's Day, aka Friday, May 30th, 2025. Let's jump into the history today, shall we? Starting in the year 70, we have the Siege of Jerusalem. Titus and his Roman legions breached the second wall of Jerusalem. Of Jerusalem. Jewish defenders retreated to the first wall. The Romans built a circumvallation, cutting down all trees within 15 kilometers or 9.3 miles of the city, I presume. And let's look this up, this word up here, circumvallation. I'll bring it up on Ecosia here, because fuck Google. Investment, military. Military term for surrounding an enemy position. So a circumvallation, investment. So they completely surrounded the entire city. All right. What else do we got here? 1381, English peasant uprising began in Essex. And from our other source here, beginning of the peasants' revolt in England. So, as I always say, it doesn't matter, what president, what dictator, what king, what queen, what emperor, whatever. The power is always in you, the people. If you see that little video I have before this actual show over on Rumble here. 1416, Jerome of Prague was burned at the stake for heresy by Church Council of Constance. From our other source, 1416, the Council of Constance, called by Emperor Sigismund, a supporter of anti-pope John the 23rd, burnt Jerome of Prague following a trial for heresy. We do have a picture for that. Poor old Jerome here. Doesn't look like he's in too much pain, but I don't know. I mean, his entire hair is engulfed, and yeah. Anyway. What else do we got here? Whoops, wrong button. Get rid of that. Whoops, okay. 1431, we have another burning at the stake during the 100 Years' War. 19-year-old Joan of Arc was burned at the stake by an English dominant tribunal in Rouen, France. And, from the other source, 100 Years' War in Rouen, France, and 19-year-old Joan of Arc was burned at the stake by an English-dominated tribunal. So that actually said the exact same thing in a different way. I can get rid of that. Alright, we do have a picture for that. Joan of Arc, 16. Is that what it said? 19, sorry. 19 years old, still, still a teenager. Just being, yeah. But several hundred years later, she was acquitted, for whatever that's worth. 1434, the Battle of Lipany, also called the Battle of Keski Brod, ended Tabord's influence. We have here from the other source, during the Hussite Wars, the Battle of Lipany, effectively ending the war, Utraquist forces led by Davis Baruch of Maltenic defeated and almost annihilated Taborite forces led by Pokrub the Great. Dang, almost annihilated them. That ain't good. Let's see, I'm moving the comment section over here. And let's see this comment section over here. I do have several viewers. That's pretty cool. Anyway, moving on up to 1498, Christopher Columbus departed with 6 ships for his 3rd trip to America. All right. 1539, Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto's expedition of 10 ships and 700 men lands in Florida. We have here from the other source, in Florida, Hernando de Soto landed at Tampa Bay with 600 soldiers and the goal of finding gold. So I'm wondering if 600 of the 700 men were soldiers and the other 100, were just standard crew, or maybe civilians or something. I'm not entirely sure. 1588, the last ship of the Spanish Armada set sail from Lisbon, heading to the English Channel. All right, we do have a picture of that. Look at all that Armada right there. A lot of ships. Reminds me of HCNS, actually, with our output. 1626, an explosion at the Wangongsheng gunpowder factory in Beijing destroyed part of the city and killed 20,000 people. Yikes. 1631, the Treaty of Fontainebleau was signed between Maximilian I, Elector of Bavaria, and the Kingdom of France, establishing a secret alliance between them during the 30 Years' War. That's right up here. And then we have the Peace of Prague is coming up here. We have the publication of Gazette de France, the first French newspaper. And that's, here it is, Gazette de France, de Lunde, 22nd May, 1775. So this is a much older rendition because this one was from 1631. 1635, the Peace of Prague was signed between the Habsburg Emperor Ferdinand II and the Electorate of Saxony, representing Protestant states of the Holy Roman Empire. It effectively ended the Civil War aspect of the 30 Years' War. We have here Ferdinand II, good old pencil face, and I call him pencil face because, look at him. Like, he looks like a pencil. His little chin beard is the lead. His face is like the shaved off part of the wood, and then his hair is like, the wavy of like the painted section. He's literally a pencil head. 1642, all honors granted by Charles I were retrospectively annulled by Parliament. And from the other source here it says, from this date, all honors granted by Charles I of England were retroactively annulled by Parliament. So says the government of England. So we have another pencil head here. I don't know what he did. I think he was a treasonous king. I'm not sure. I think he was beheaded, right? Like, let me look him up here really quick. Yes, decapitation was the cause of his death. So, yeah, he was executed publicly. I think there was a movie about it, actually. 1667, Margaret Cavendish was the first woman to attend a meeting of the Royal Society, watching demonstrations by Robert Boyle and Robert Hooke. Ooh. Robert Boyle, that name kind of rings a little bit of a bell there. 1723, Jonathan Sebastian Bach assumed the office of Thomas Cantor in Leipzig, presenting his first new cantate, Die Elonden sollen essen, BVW 75 in the St. Nicholas Church on the first Sunday after Trinity. Moving on up to 1783, why am I in the 1600s still? 1783. The Benjamin Tower of Philadelphia published the first daily newspaper in the U.S. That's pretty cool right there. 1796, War of the First Coalition in the Battle of Borghetto. Napoleon Bonaparte managed to cross the Mincio River against the Austrian army. This crossing forced the Austrians to abandon Lombardy and retreat to Tyrol, leaving the forces of Banuta as the sole remaining stronghold in northern Italy. Uh-oh. That's a yikes right there. And then 1806, future U.S. President Andrew Jackson killed Charles Dickinson in a duel after Dickinson accused Jackson's wife of bigamy. Yikes. Here we go. Here's an artist rendition. Obviously not a photograph of the incident. But yeah, he looks like, oh great heavens, I have been shot. Dear good. No. What else do we got here? 1808, Napoleon Bonaparte annexed Tuscany and gave it seats in the French Senate. Yep. Tuscany is part of Italy, correct? I think. Like, there's Tuscany, France, right? I don't know. Where? You know what? Instead of me babbling on like an imbecile, let's see. Where is Tuscany? Tuscany. It's in Italy. Okay. Wow. Okay, so there is no Tuscany in France. There was a Tuscany in France, actually, at one time. That's what we're talking about. But yeah, for whatever reason, I always thought Tuscany was in France, but no, it's in Italy. 1814, during the Napoleonic Wars, the War of the Sixth Coalition, the Treaty of Paris from 1814 was signed, returning French borders to their 1792 extent. And from the other source, the first Treaty of Paris was signed, returning the French frontiers to their 1792 extent, and restoring the House of Bourbon to power. All right. Sounds like a drunk house, though, but yeah. And, want to reiterate the first Treaty of Paris. There has since been several. Actually, I think the first... No, I could have sworn that the treaty that was signed... Hold on a second. Let me look this up here. Treaty that ended the American Revolution. Treaty of Paris in 1783. So how the hell is the 1814 one the first one? That makes no sense. Okay, so somebody needs to help me out here and in the comment section, let us know what the actual first, because there's been so many Treaty of Parises. It's ridiculous. Anyway, what else do we got? 1821, James Boyd patented the rubber fire hose, and that's what we got here, rubber fire hose. Everything had to start somewhere. 1822, George Wilson And Joe LaRoche betrayed a planned slave revolt organized by Denmark Vesey in Charlestown, South Carolina, confirming an earlier warning from Peter Priolu. 35 black people were later hanged. This date is approximate. That is really unfortunate that happened. But 1832, Everstate Galloy gave his theory on free assembly, and he died in a duel on May 31st. Wow, tomorrow. Huh. I guess somebody didn't like that. 1832, the Rideau Canal in eastern Ontario was opened. It is the oldest continuously operated canal system in North America. So in Ontario, that has to be Canada. Huh. Pretty cool. It's a rather small canal. It doesn't look like it gets much use beyond just private use. And look at all the bridges. Or actually, no, that's not bridges. Those are the levels, right? What are they called? Of the canal? The gates? I don't know. Moving on up to 1834, Minister of Justice Joaquin Antonio de Aguilar issued a law seizing, quote, all convents, monasteries, colleges, hospices, and any other houses, end quote, from the Catholic religious orders in Portugal, earning him the nickname of the Friar Killer. 1842, John Francis attempted to assassinate Queen Victoria. Yikes. And from our other source here, it says John Francis attempted to murder Queen Victoria as she drove down Constitution Hill in London with Prince Albert. 1848, Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo between the United States and Mexico came into force, giving California, Nevada, Utah, and most of Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona to the U.S. in return for $15 million. Sounds like somebody being a businessman doing business. 1848, William G. Young patented the ice cream freezer. That's pretty cool. What is this? Oh yeah, this is the most daring attempt to assassinate the Queen by John Francis. The madman, he's a lunatic, he needs to be stopped, he's a danger to society. And this is the Mexican session here, so yeah, California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, so just this area in the lighter color. Eventually we took over what is now state lines and whatnot, so yeah. 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act repealed Missouri Compromise, creating the territories of Kansas and Nebraska. And from the other source here, it says the Kansas-Nebraska Act became law establishing the U.S. territories of Kansas and Nebraska. Okay. Yeah, so it repealed the Missouri Compromise, thus creating the territories of Kansas and Nebraska. This is, this is still like a rough draft of the final product of what eventually will be going up on the website, people. So, yeah, bear with me. 1868, Decoration Day, later called Memorial Day, was first observed in the northern U.S. states. From our other source, Decoration Day, the predecessor of the modern Memorial Day, was observed in the United States of America for the first time after a proclamation by John A. Logan, head of the Grand Army of the Republic, which was a veterans group. Moving on up to 1876, the secret decree of Ems Ukaz, issued by Russian Tsar Alexander II of the German city of Bad Ems, was aimed at stopping the printing and distribution of Ukrainian language publications in the Russian Empire. That's somewhat relevant today. 1883, the Stampede caused by a rumor that the Brooklyn Bridge was going to collapse killed 12 people. Yikes. From our other source here, yeah, New York City, 12 people were killed in a stampede on the recently opened Brooklyn Bridge. And, yeah, we had spoken about this a couple days ago. 1890, first baseman Dave Foots hit Brooklyn Bridge rooms. Later, the Dodgers' first ever home run during a doubleheader defeats home run during a doubleheader, going on to defeat the Chicago Colts at Washington Park in Brooklyn, if I read that correctly. I don't know, I think I just had a brain fart there. 1894, Boston Bean Eaters, what a name. Baseball second baseman Bobby Lowe, first to hit 4 home runs in Major League Baseball game in a 20-11 win against the Cincinnati Reds. 1896, first car accident occurred. Henry Wells hit a cyclist in New York City. Oh, of course. Of course. Of course. And thus the war began. The whole never-ending battle of cyclists versus, car. Like, share the road, jackass. Yeah, you too, pinhead. Just yesterday I was coming back home, from picking up some vape juice, and
there was a couple cyclists, and these were serious guys. They had those super thin, wheels, and spandex head to toe, the long helmet that goes all the way down to your butt. Like, they were serious people, but they were like, there wasn't really enough room for them and me in the lane, so I kind of trailed behind him. He kept looking behind him. I'm like, dude, I can't pass without hitting the guy next to me or you. So, I mean, either get on the sidewalk or pedal faster. I don't know what to say. Anyway, moving on up to 1899, Pearl Hart, a female outlaw of the Old West, robbed a stagecoach 30 miles southeast of Globe, Arizona. I wonder if she was the inspiration for Kissin' Kate Barlow, from the book then made the movie Holes. 1901, the Hall of Fame for Great Americans was dedicated in NYU campus, New York University, I believe. Do we have any comments whatsoever yet? Nope. 1902, Spanish King Alfonso XII, who was elected as a constitutional monarch, suspended the Cortes, Spain's parliament. That's a red flag right there. 1904, Frank Chance got hit by a pitch 5 times in a doubleheader. Yikes. Yeah, I've been hit by pitches before, back when I was in Little League. Friggin' kid aimed for my wrist and hit it dead on. Never again. I quit that day. 1906, Hershey Park, founded by Milton S. Hershey for the exclusive use of his employees, was opened. All right. And now it's open to the public, I believe. Hershey Park is an international destination. Actually, maybe not international, because our chocolate is crap compared to most of European, the rest of the world by extension. 1908, first federal workmen's compensation law was approved. All right. While that was going on, Aldrich Vinland Currency Act, forerunner to Federal Reserve Act system. Dang. Am I still going live? Yeah, I am still going live. Okay. No. What else do we got here? 1908, Paris advocate E. Archidon was the first passenger on an airplane. That's pretty cool right there. And we also have the U.S. Assay Office in Salt Lake City, Utah was authorized. What is an assay office? So I think we've asked this question before, actually. So, assay office. They are institutions set up to assay precious metals. This is often done to protect consumers from buying fake items. Oh, okay. Okay. Precious metal trading. Dictated by the state. It needs some protection, so I see. 1911, the first Indianapolis 500, Ray Harun, driving a Marmon Wasp for Nordyke and Marmon Company, came out of retirement, winning the inaugural race with an average speed of 74.602 miles per hour, or 120.060 kilometers an hour. From our other source here, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the first Indianapolis 500 ended with Ray Harun with his Marmon Wasp becoming the first winner of the 500-mile auto race. Hence the name, Indy 500, 500 miles. We're going to make a left turn, and then another left turn, and we're going to follow that up with 1,000 more left turns. 1912, U.S. Marines were sent to Nicaragua. Why? Why are they over there? Oh, crap, why have I forgot his name? Howie, you're a Marine. Why were you guys over there in 1912? What's going on? 1913, Treaty of London, signed by the great powers, the Ottoman Empire and the victorious Balkan League, Serbia, Greece, Kingdom of Bulgaria, and Montenegro, bringing in to the First Balkan War. We have, from our other source here, the Treaty of London was signed, ending the First Balkan War. Albania became an independent nation as well. That's why we go to other sources. 1922, completed Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., dedicated by U.S. Chief Justice William Howard Taft, in front of 50,000 people. That's cool. Yeah. Wow. He went on to become the 27th U.S. president. 1922 as well. Cubs and Cardinals traded outfielders between morning and afternoon games of a doubleheader. Max Flack went to St. Louis. Cliff Heathcote headed to Chicago. Both got hits for new clubs in the nightcap. That sounds like a nighttime. That sounds pretty cool. 1925, British mariners shot on demonstrators, and I think the next several articles have something to do with one another because they all are on the same, calendar date, same year, same time, same general region of the world, I believe. We also have in China, protests erupted against the great powers infringing on Chinese sovereignty, and from the other source, we have May 13th movement. Shanghai Municipal Police Force shot and killed 13 protesting workers. So, we have British Mariners, we have, Shanghai police, we have riots, protests, manslaughter, all sorts of stuff. Also, in 1925, Peter Di Paolo became the first man to average over 100 miles per hour at Indy. Okay. So, yeah. That's a good way to wrap up that year. 1930, Shed Aquarium, one of the first inland aquarium. Oh, that was 1 century ago, actually. I just realized that. So all that happened 1 century ago. 100 years on this calendar date. That's pretty wild. So this is the last 100 years of the show, guys, for today. 1930, Shed Aquarium, one of the first inland aquariums in the world, opened in Chicago, Illinois. And we also have 1933, patent on invisible glass installation. Huh. And yeah, so this was from earlier, the Nebraska and Kansas territories. Soldiers Memorial Day, May 30th. This is the picture of the Stampede on the Brooklyn Bridge. That is absolutely terrifying. Oh yeah, many bicyclists came to grief. Sorry, I completely spaced out and forgot about these pictures here. Some of them had to walk home and others rested in station houses. Bicyclists were abroad yesterday, and as a result of the general turning out of riders on the silent steed, a number of riders found their way into police courts and some into hospitals. Huh. So, I guess they didn't announce that they were having some kind of bike event, and it broke some laws, and that's the cause of the cyclist getting hit. The motorist, had no idea what was going on. So, yeah. And this is the first Indy 500. The guy in his Wasp. And yeah, here's the Lincoln Memorial. I've been there. Anyway, that was not what I wanted to do. Whoopsie doodles. Let's see here. In 1935 as well, Philadelphia pitcher Jim Vivian retired Babe Ruth on an infield grounder in the Braves' final MLB at bat. Ruth played just one inning in Boston Braves' 11-6 loss to the Phillies at the Baker Bowl. Dang! So this is the last time that the great Bambino Babe Ruth was at bat. What a kind of sad way to go out, but hey, he had a hell of a run. 1937, Memorial Day Massacre. Chicago Police Department shot and killed 10 unarmed labor demonstrators during the Little Steel Strike in the United States. Yikes. 1941, World War II, Manolis Galezos and Apostolos Santas climbed the Athenian Acropolis and tore down the German flag. Good. 1943, during the Holocaust, Joseph Mengele became chief medical officer of the Ziegener Familienlager, the Romani family camp, at Auschwitz concentration camp. Yeah. 1944, transferred number 75 departed Drancy in France internment camp, taking 1,000 French Jews to Auschwitz extermination camp in Nazi Germany, occupied Poland. 627 killed upon arrival, approximately 99 survived the war. I mean, that's better than nothing, but yeah, we got to take the bad with the good in history, folks. Some of these articles, especially that one, that was really rough to read, believe me. But, if we're ever going to be better and never repeat those things, we got to remember the awful stuff. So that way we know what not to do in the future. 1946, Bama Worrell hit a home run in a baseball match. The ball shattered Bolovia clock in Ipps Field in Brooklyn, New York. Huh. Hey, good old Satchel Paige there. 1949, East German Constitution was approved. All right. 1954, Dutch bishops forbade the membership of two non-Catholic sporting clubs. So in the Netherlands, if you're non-Catholic, you could not operate as a club within that country? ? Can anyone elaborate? Like what does that mean fully? I don't really fully understand. 1955, Tunisia began domestic self-governing. All right. 1956, bus boycott began in Tallahassee, Florida. I wonder if that's part of the Montgomery bus boycotts. 1958, unidentified soldiers killed in World War II and Korean War were buried in Arlington. From our other source here, we have Memorial Day, the remains of 2 unidentified U.S. servicemen killed in action during World War II and the Korean War, respectively, were buried at the tomb of the unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery. Why did I cannot spell the things right? Cemetery? Is that how you spell it? Oh, well. Anyway, 1959, Iran withdrew from the Baghdad Pact. Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, Turkey, and the United Kingdom. Interesting how one of these things is unlike the other. One of these things does not belong with all the others. So, like, I mean, the United Kingdom is not located in the Middle East. Why are they involved in this? 1959, the Auckland Harbour Bridge was officially opened in Auckland, New Zealand. And we have from the other source here, the Auckland Harbour Bridge crossing the Wairamete Harbour in Auckland, New Zealand was officially opened by Governor General Charles Layton, 10th Viscount Cobham. 1963, a protest against pro-Catholic discrimination during the Buddhist crisis was held outside South Vietnam's National Assembly, the first open demonstration during the 8-year presidency of Ngo Dien Diem. 1967, U.S. motorcycle daredevil Robert Evel Knievel's motorcycle jumped 16 automobiles in Gardena, California. What it says here is motorcycle jumped it. Oh, actually, he jumped 16 automobiles on his motorcycle. Okay. Because this one says his motorcycle jumped, so like that doesn't say that that Evil was on the motorcycle with it when it jumped. 1968, President de Gaulle disbanded French Parliament. That's not good. What does the other source have to say about this? Charles de Gaulle reappeared publicly after his flight to Baden-Baden, West Germany, and dissolved the French National Assembly by radio appeal. Immediately after, less than 1 million of his supporters marched on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. This was the turning point of the May 1968 events in France. Well, yeah, it sounds like it would be. 1968 as well, the Pauliner-Kirche, a church built in 1231 at the University of Leipzig, was demolished by the East German communist regime to make way for new development, and protesters were arrested. Yikes! So let me look this magnificent piece of architecture up. Oh wow, there's a picture right there. Oh wow, they tore that down. Wow, damn commies! You just have to destroy everything you touch. Nothing ever good comes out of that. Look at this beautiful structure. Well, at least we have it in photographs, so it's not a total and complete loss. But, you know, if there ever was a reason why not to go communist, this article is one of them. 1970, baseball all-star voting is returned to fans. All right, that seems fair. 1970 as well, Tigers' Al Kaline collided with another player and swallowed his tongue. Yikes. That is a big yikes. I mean, like, these professional athletes, they slamming into each other at full speed, not really paying attention. Yeah, of course somebody could swallow their tongue. That is terrifying. Moving on up to 1971, 36 were hospitalized during a Grateful Dead concert. They had drank LSD-laced apple juice. Woo. Probably unknowing. And apparently Bill Paxton had something like he ate like some kind of fish dish that was laced with PCP or something. I don't know. And like a whole bunch of people had it too, and all sort of from people having euphorics to people having bad trips and everything else in between. You had a whole menagerie of tripping folk around there. 1971 as well, U.S. Mariner 9 was the first satellite to orbit Mars, was launched. And we have here from the other source, during the Mariner program, Mariner 9 was launched to map 70% of the surface and to study temporal changes in the atmosphere and surface of Mars. That's pretty cool. 1972, the Angry Brigade went on trial over a series of 25 bombings throughout the United Kingdom of Britain, Scotland, and Ireland. Oh, what a name, the Angry Brigade. 1972 as well. Oh, I'm getting a little too far up here. In the Ben Gurion Airport, at the time Lod Airport, right here, Israel, members of the Japanese Red Army carried out the Lod Airport massacre, killing 24 people and injuring 78 others. Why does nobody ever talk about this? You'd think something like this happening in Israel, and a certain people would suddenly be very looked upon and with discouraging eyes. So, 1974, the Airbus A300 passenger aircraft first entered service. In 1975, the European Space Agency, ESA, was established and formed. 1979, Ted Combs began a 5,193-mile roller skate from LA to New York City. That's a very long skate there. 1980, the first papal visit to France since 1814 occurred. I wonder who the Pope was. I wish I had the time. I mean, like, there's a half hour left before we hit the hour, but I'm getting kind of hungry, so I want to get through this show and move on with my day. 1981, LA Dodgers were the quickest to get 1 million attendance in a season in only 22 games. That's impressive. I wonder if that record has been surpassed yet. 1982, during the Cold War, Spain joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, aka NATO, becoming its 16th member, which, well, yeah. 1983, American League President Lee MacPhail suspended Yankees owner George Steinbreaker for 1 week for his public criticism of umpires. That's a hard call to make right there. 1986, Barry Bonds made his MLB debut for the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right. 1987, hey, I was born that year. North American Philips Company unveiled the compact disc video. Ooh, technology. 1989, Tiananmen Square protests of 1989, the 10-meter-high Goddess of Democracy statue was unveiled in Tiananmen Square by student demonstrators. Let's take a look at this statue here. Bring up Ecosia once again. And every time I do a search, it plants a tree or something. I don't know. Huh. That's cool. Here it is, a photo of it. Let's see if I can get a bigger... There we go. Come on, give me the photo. Wow, holy 90s loading, Batman. Are you kidding me? Oh. That's cool. It looks a lot like the Statue of Liberty. And I do not see a shackle on her ankle with a chain or apples, so we know that this is not satanic. Oh yeah. 1990, Croatian parliament was constituted after the first free multi-party elections, today celebrated as a National Day of Croatia. So happy National Day, Croatia, if anyone in Croatia is watching. 1991, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled prosecutors can be sued for legal advice they give to police and can be held accountable in Burns versus Reed. That's kind of questionable right there. 1998, a magnitude 6.6 earthquake hit northern Afghanistan, killing up to 5,000 people. And from our other source, we have a discrepancy here. The 6.5 MW Afghanistan earthquake shook the Takhar province of northern Afghanistan with a maximum Mercalli intensity of 7, very strong, killing around 4,000 to 4,500 people. So 4,000, 4,500, 5,000, 6.5, 6.6, although that point is negligible. I just want to know what the more exact number of deaths is, because that sucks no matter what. But, we're going to be precise. Let's be precise here. 1998 as well, during some nuclear testing, Pakistan conducted an underground test in the Karahan Desert. It was reported to be a plutonium device with a yield of 20 kilotons TNT equivalent. That's powerful. 2003, we're in the home stretch. The animated fish tale Finding Nemo, directed by Andrew Stanton and starring Albert Brooks and Ellen DeGeneres, premiered in U.S. and Canada. Ellen DeGeneres. Well, if I had read the whole article, I probably wouldn't have even put this one in here, but yeah. Oh well. 2003 as well, the Payan Massacre. At least 70 people associated with the National League for Democracy were killed by government-sponsored mob in Burma. Aung San Suu Kyi fled the scene but was arrested soon afterwards. 2008, Convention on Cluster Munitions was adopted. That's interesting. 2012, a number of nations, including Germany, Turkey, and Canada, expelled Syrian diplomats following the Hawala massacre. I wonder what this Hawala massacre was. Let's take a look at that really quick, actually. Hawala massacre. It was a mass murder of civilians by Ba'athist Syrian government forces that took place on May 25, 2012, in the midst of the Syrian civil war in the town of Taldu in the Hawla region of Syria, a string of towns northwest of Homs. Yikes. Moving on up to 2012 as well, former Liberian President Charles Taylor was sentenced to 50 years in prison for his role in atrocities committed during the Sierra Leone Civil War. Another, couple of horrific articles to have read. 2013, Nigeria passed a law banning same-sex marriage. 2014, Seth MacFarlane's A Million Ways to Die in the West was released in theaters, MacFarlane's first live-action role on the big screen. Well, that's pretty cool, man. I've seen that movie. I'm going to have to say my favorite scene is the ice scene. You know, it just so like escalated so quickly, so fast. Like as he said, you know what? Let's play it. Like billion ways to die ice. Let's see here.
It basically cuts it in big blocks from frozen lakes and ponds, and you just ship it. Ah!
I am sick. Anyway, 2015, Alistair Cook became the leading run soccer scorer of all time in Test cricket for England. I had to put a cricket one in there just in case the Golden Loon was here today, but nope, he's at work. 2016, former Chad dictator Hissène Habré convicted of crimes against humanity by the Extraordinary African Chamber's first ex-head of state convicted of the charge. Yikes. 2019, Austria appointed its first female chancellor, Brigitte Bierle, to head caretaker government after fall of the coalition government. 2019 as well, Louisiana Governor Jean Bell Edwards signed new anti-abortion, making it the 5th southern U.S. state to ban abortion when fetal heartbeat is detected. You know, unless they're a struggle snuggle victim, I can understand. 2019, Narendra Modi sworn in for a second term as Indian Prime Minister in New Delhi with 8,000 guests at largest ever gathering at the presidential palace. Awesome. 2019, singer R. Kelly charged with 11 new counts of sexual assault and abuse in Chicago. Oh my goodness. 2019 as well. 2 new studies find eating processed foods leads to an early death and ill health published in British Medical Journal. Well, yeah, it's processed garbage. It's crap. It's chemical compounds, flavorings, additives, colorings. It's not real, you know? So you are what you eat. If you're going to eat fake stuff, you are fake. You are not going to exist. So... 2020, SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket launch carrying the Dragon capsule from Cape Canaveral to the International Space Station. First private company to launch astronauts into space. And actually, I didn't even test to see if it's... Okay, that is picking up, and that... Okay, good. I didn't test earlier to see if it was picking up the background music, but yeah, a little late now, but yeah, it is though. We have here from the other source that Crew Dragon Demo 2 launched from the Kennedy Space Center, becoming the first crewed orbital spacecraft to launch from the United States since 2011, and the first commercial flight to the International Space Station. Didn't we cover the first commercial flight earlier to the ISS? I'm not sure. Or maybe the first private commercial flight? Or first... I don't know. 2022, European Union agreed to a plan to block 2/3 of Russian oil. Yep. 2022, Frontier became the world's fastest supercomputer and first exascale computer able to perform a quintillion calculations per second at US's Oak Ridge National Laboratory. That is incomprehensible. Quintillion? I don't even know how many zeros that is. 2023, 400 leading AI industry experts signed letter warning mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. Yes, I agree. 2023 as well, a drone strike on Moscow was the first attack on a Russian residential neighborhood with no casualties since the invasion of Ukraine began. Yeah, the war came home. 2023 as well, former U.S. startup founder Elizabeth Holmes began her 11-year prison sentence for defrauding investors with her blood testing company Theranos. Yeah, I don't really know much about that, but, you know, I heard something a while ago. And 2024, a jury in New York City found former U.S. President Donald J. Trump guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to hide payments made to prevent damaging personal information from being released prior to the 2016 election. We have here from the other source, Donald Trump was convicted of falsifying business records in his New York trial, the first time a former president of the United States of America had been found guilty of in a criminal case. So I gotta slow down my speech. I'm stumbling over myself. Hey, Osabe, quintillion comes after quadrillion after trillion. Oh wow. Okay, that's still a lot of zeros there. Do we have any comments on the Rumble? No, not yet. But let me move this over here so that way people can see. But yeah, no, that was such a kangaroo court, and I'm not coming to the defense of Trump. I am not a Trump supporter. But, I mean, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And, this was such a BS. This was almost as bogus as the Chauvin case. Almost as bogus as the J6 case. I'm starting to see a pattern here. 2024, last but not least, Vermont became the first U.S. state to pass a law requiring fossil fuel companies to pay for damages caused by climate change. Oh, my God. Of course, Vermont. Oh. Anyway, that shall conclude the show. Please check the underbar in the description below for any links that you may find interesting, including but not limited to all things Omni Coalition. A lot of history has and continues to be made on a daily basis. We can only bring you a portion of it. Please check our various sources, for all the stuff out there. For all of you and all of us, I am Ian Xander, and you are you. We stream this at 11 in the morning Pacific Time, 12 noon Mountain, 1 Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, respectively. There will not be a history show tomorrow, though. I will be recording a Foxhole-related podcast after the debrief meeting for HTNS, which I am part of. So hang tight. There will be a news show, though. Hang tight for that podcast. It'll release at some point this next week. I have 16 hours of footage to go through from the past war to superimpose that over the audio of the podcast and all that stuff. But anyway, until you catch us next time, whenever that is, wherever that is, don't forget to look right and left at every intersection, rate 5 thumbs, and subscribe. Toodles! Where's the button? Where's my mouse? There it is.